Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
Okay, welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest for this session is Don Rivers, candidate for United States Senate. Welcome, Don.
Hi, nice to be here. Spokane.
Yes, because now you came over from the west side.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, so I want to make a point of saying we appreciate that you made the trip.
I appreciate the ride, looking at all the agriculture and the farm and everybody out there working hard.
It's a lovely time of year to cross the state.
Oh, my God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, this is an opportunity to get acquainted with you, and starting with, so where did you grow up and go to school?
Well, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, under the manufacturing ram, I guess you could call it. And I went to school at a high school called Kettering High School in Detroit, Michigan. And a lot of my areas of interest there were, well, sports was kind of like a layoff type area. I was more interested into negotiations and dealing with problems that were happening in the community. I ended up working 3 jobs while in school.
While in high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, what were they?
I was working at a gas station. I dealt with the graveyard shift of taking care of the money, so I did all the books. I worked at McDonald's as a swing shift manager, doing that. And then I worked with my uncle, who was like a part number 2 dad, rather, and I did things like waterproof basements. I had the opportunity of waterproofing the Ford Motor Company owners' homes and things like that. So I did construction too in concrete.
That's,
at an early age.
That's very enterprising of you, and it's making me
yeah.
tired thinking about it.
Yeah,
So.
I've worked 3 jobs for 48 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about work.
Well, that indicates you already had a whole bunch of skills by the time you got out of high school. Did you do some other training or education that you want to tell us about?
I played sports. I mean, I was very good in basketball and football.
Well, that's another kind of training.
Very good, hobby-wise. I was really good. I also, in negotiations, I was always the one that was there when the gangs did some things, and I didn't run away. I always stayed to talk to the police. So,
peacemaker?
That's negotiator.
Negotiator,
peacemaker, community person. I always wondered where that came from. Now I realize later on where it came from, because I did a lot of work with former Sheriff Riker, Congressman Riker, and we did reconciliation programs, for Washington State. And so I would come over back and forth and work with Blue, to make sure that people understand them. And one of the major programs I want to put forth across the nation is a program called Blue Honoring Communities. I'm very much intrigued about showing how Blue can honor communities, and do that as a 2-year pilot program, and then come back the next 2 years and do the Community Honors Blue.
I can tell you have got lots of stuff.
Oh, yes,
that
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But I want to find out how you got from Detroit to Washington.
I came to play for, actually, I thought I was going to WSU to play for George Raveling.
Yeah.
And the plane landed in Seattle, and I got off. And so I ended up going to Don James.
You were supposed to stay on until I got to Pullman.
I ended up going to Don James, and I ran and hit this guy upside the head. And Don said, "We don't do that out here." It was Warren Moon. I ended up mentoring Warren Moon into sports, and got him to go to the CBA to play. But Jim Zorn, a good friend of mine, he came after me strong, him and Jack Patera, and they wanted me to play for the Seahawks. I did a little tryout things, but my interest was in management and all those type of things. So I ended up going back to the Nordstrom family, and I ended up in front of a guy named Jack McMillan, who married the Nordstrom daughter. And God, he was such a good man to me. He told me, he said, "You're going to end up sweeping floors. This management's not going to make much money." I said, "This is what I want to do." And then I entered into the Nordstrom family business and learned a lot of my morals, my values, my principles, my ethics when they were training us to do work with communities and how to be understanding corporate America. They don't do that training any longer.
It's hard for family corporations to make transitions sometimes.
Yeah, it is now, and I think we've gotten so far away from understanding our youth till we ended up in this area of the boggledness where we're really trying to define ourselves. It's hard for us now to hold one another's hand. It doesn't matter to me about what party you're in. I represent all of it because I grew up around all of it. Norm Mailing, Slade Gorton, Jim McDermott, Tip O'Neill, Albert Rossellini, Norm Dix. All those guys were mentors to me. So I'm the part of Washington, my 40 years, I'm the part of Washington that knows how to make Washington work effectively across the aisle and across cultures. And that's what's so important to me.
So you, after you finished the University of Washington, was your career mostly working with the Nordstrom?
No, I didn't attend University of Washington.
Oh, you didn't? Well, you were playing.
No, I went to Green River Community College.
Okay, I
went out to try out to pray and didn't want to do it.
Got it.
See, I came from an area of violence, and I was trained as a middle linebacker to hit somebody. So when I was told I couldn't do that, I realized the sport wasn't for me.
Okay, so you went to Green River Community College.
Right, and from there I did a lot of skill training and career track. Remember career track? Mm-hmm. I did a lot of skill training.
I have a lot of respect for that kind of track.
And a lot of on-the-job training, and I was advised by elected officials. So I ended up being an advisor for elected officials, and I've probably done over 140 elected officials. One of my best was Governor Christine Gregoire, and I kind of like Jay Inslee too a little bit, but Christine was really awesome. Her people skills were just unbelievable.
How did you work with her staff, with her as part of the staff?
She was Attorney General when I met her, and she called me a lot to do a lot of area of criminal justice work in the prisons and what needed to happen, and I made some decisions on what needed to happen, because what I liked about Christine, I was carrying my little daughter around with me everywhere I went, and I remember Christine running down the hall because she had to change her diaper, and I said, Christine, I got to change her diaper. She ran down the hall and opened the door and let me into her office, and I changed her diaper. She said, a daddy mom. She said, wow. so that young lady's 36 now. Wow.
Do you have one daughter, or you have?
I have two. I have another
daughters?
one. She's 45, and she's married. Yeah, and I'm 62. Yeah, 62.
Oh, we're the same age.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah.
point, finger, pop, bang.
I also have bad eyesight. So, what prompted you to volunteer to run for elected office?
I've been in this for 40 years, like I say. I've been behind the scene. I've been basically called the kingmaker. I was the one supporting the elected officials. Ron Sims, Norm Rice, Albert Rossellini was teaching me, and I loved him as an attorney. This last gentleman you let out here, he's an awesome guy. I'm looking to work with him over here in Spokane on civil justice issues and social justice issues. You guys have some problems in that area here, and I'm looking to be here to help out.
Those problems are
They're
ubiquitous.
everywhere,
Yeah, and then probably ubiquitous over time as well as space. But
right, exactly.
That's a whole different subject to get off onto. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're coming up on that last minute and a half for you to give your pitch directly, answering the question: how do you see the duties of this elected office for U.S. Senate, and why should voters choose you? It's all yours.
One, because the person that's there, the elected official that's there now, is outdated and unrelated. Washington State has grown so rapidly. We have cultures here that we don't even know how to engage with. And I'm that individual that does. I have a lot of experience in international trade. So I'm a person that would definitely help, like Mr. Trump right now is trying to mess up our industry of international trade. There's something like $11 billion worth of international trade, maybe more. It's more billions of trade that we do, especially this side, our agriculture. I don't want that harmed. I don't want it. So I believe I'm the hands-on person. I'm the person that most people say this, but they don't do it. You call my office, somebody's going to get in touch with you. I want to work with our young people about communication skills, those that are in that field, and I want to make sure we give them some opportunity to work with us so that we know as elected officials how to reach out to people, because I don't like it when somebody calls and they don't get an answer. So I want to make sure that happens. I believe in the environment. We need a single-family payer program to take care of all of our citizens of Washington State. I'm sick of this Hanford issue, and I definitely want to get involved with that to make sure we can do what's possible. I don't want the military jumping in when they're really not knowing exactly what to do and close things out from us, and we don't know what's around us. So this is an area like a sanctuary we need to protect. Eastern Washington. And I don't like the fact that Eastern Washingtoners don't believe that Western Washingtoners want to work with them. We do. I'm going to show you how to do it.
Okay. Well, you showed it by showing up today.
Thank you so
Showing
much.
up
You
is
lovely
is the
ride.
first part of the
Remember,
of
you said
success.
Sue. What's your name, Sue?
Sulani.
Sulani. I will never Sulani. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations
Vote
on
for
your-
Donnell Rivers. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Well, have fun on your campaign and
Thank
good
you,
luck.
ma'am. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.